Okay, halal raw materials. So kalau kita tengok dia punya apa? Dia punya CLO, cost linear outcome. Okay, so for this chapter, apa yang kita expect ialah at the end of this chapter, maksudnya you are able to explain the management of halal ingredients in food processing in the industry. Kalau beza dengan chapter 1 to 3 sebelum ni, kita nak achieve CLO 1, iaitu kita boleh cerita tentang apa ni, halal ingredients. Tapi yang ini dah mula management of halal ingredients. Macam mana kita menguruskan ingredient yang ada di dalam pemprosesan makanan. Okay? So kalau kita tengok pada as introduction, so nowadays Muslim are more alert or aware on the ingredients of the foods. Okay? Why? Because food chains are becoming longer. Okay? Becoming longer and more complex. Previously mungkin kalau kita kata last 10 years ke, mungkin pemprosesannya mungkin berlaku di kampung, kita beli saja produk di kampung kan, atau mungkin daripada kampung sebelah. Tetapi hari ini mungkin produk yang kita dapat hari ini ialah datang daripada beribu-ribu kilometer daripada tempat kita kan. So nak boleh sampai kepada tempat kita ni memerlukan banyak proses, dan nak hasilkan satu produk pun semakin kompleks. Kalau dulu mungkin kita boleh makan daripada real food, atau mungkin dia just ada satu proses sahaja. Hari ini banyak melibatkan proses nak jadikan produk akhir tersebut. So dia lebih kompleks. So they had to pay keen attention to labeling of products across the value chain with concerns crossing non-ritually slaughtered meat to porcine gelatin, additive and colorings. So previously mungkin dalam in terms of halal processing, apa yang kita cuma aware ialah atau kita alert tentang penyembelihan. Kan kita tengok sembelih ke tak sembelih, binatang ni halal ke tak halal. Tapi dalam dunia hari ni, bila kita cerita tentang foods, okay, it involve, kita kata apa, many process, okay. For example, in terms of ingredients, kan, in terms of processing, okay, in terms of processing aids. So benda-benda ni kita kena take note especially as a trained future halal executive lah, kan. So bukan lagi cerita tentang yes, slaughtering penting, tetapi plus dengan slaughtering ialah elemen-elemen lain kaitan dengan halal, okay. So you need to aware of the labeling, okay, of the labeling. So halal food products must integrate with aspect of good or tayyib that represent by cleanliness, safety and quality. So since the production of a food product comprising a particular process, starting from the selection, preparation of materials, manufacture, production, storage, transfer, distribution until the product is served to the consumer, then the halal should cover the whole chain starting from its source. As we discussed last week, kita dah discuss tentang source. So next kita nak macam mana nak pastikan source tersebut ialah benar-benar halal. Okay. So ni kalau kita tengok dari segi subkategori on food ingredients lah yang ada. Dari segi subkategori since 2015 until 2020. So segment kalau kita tengok kat sini paling banyak ialah di bawah sauces and marinades. Okay. And then diikuti oleh thickening agents, okay, sugar substitutes, ataupun kita kata apa, sweetener, sugar substitutes, flavors and others. So it's contribute about 66.8 billion in 2015, and then increase in 2020, okay, projected to be 85.4 billion. So maksudnya besar pasaran dalam ingredients secara general ni. So kalau bila kita cerita tentang general, so bila kita fokus zoom in halal, so sudah pasti ada peluang untuk kita explore. Kan, macam mana kita nak contohnya substitute. Mungkin selama ni produk ni dihasilkan dengan ingredient yang tak halal. So macam mana kita boleh convert, okay, pemrosesan ataupun ingredient tersebut kepada yang lebih yang halal, okay. So according to Thomson Reuters, the size of the food ingredient market has been estimated USD 66.8 billion and expected to grow to reach USD 85.4 billion. So the food ingredients market is segmented into flavors, colors, thickness, sugar substitutes, functional ingredients, coating, and sauces and marinades. The growth of the food ingredients market is driven by innovative manufacturing methods. Okay, the first, why this food ingredient is showing the growth, because of first innovative manufacturing methods. Okay, for example, use of encapsulation technologies. Okay, use of encapsulation technologies and modern processing procedure. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the demand been increased for processed, packaged, and convenience food. Okay, why? Because people nowadays are more busy. They need commit to their job, so they don't have the time to prepare their meal. Okay, so they need convenience food. And then the last factor is the growing consumer purchasing power. Okay, so for this chapter, we will discuss on the handling. Okay, handling, and then followed by storage, and lastly the discussion will be on transportation. Okay, the initial stages now in processing, which are the first one, handling, number two, storage, and lastly transportation. So we go to the first subchapter, which is handling. So in ideal world, okay, the food processors would like a continuous supply of raw material, okay, whose composition and quality are constant and whose prices are predictable. Okay, these are what the processor expected. Okay, what are they expected? Ideally, they have continuous supply of raw material, and then they have constant quality, and then the prices are predictable. In reality, processors contract ahead with growers to synchronize their needs with raw material production. However, they are contradict. Okay, when came into the reality, the availability of raw material supplies may be determined by the predictable and unpredictable factors. Okay, since most of the crops have well-established harvest time, thus the processing is season in nature. Why we cannot predict? Because the raw material, some of it is in seasoning. Depend on season. Even in the case of raw materials which are available throughout the year, such as milk, there are established peaks and troughs in volume of production, as well as variation in a chemical composition. The weather conditions which may affect yields or limit harvesting is the example of unpredictable factors. Okay, why we cannot determine the availability or the continuous supply of raw material? Because there are predictable factors and unpredictable factors. Okay, so what actually is handling? So in terms of language, the definition of handling is an action of perform, engage, deal, or manage something. Okay, it is a process by which something is handled in a commercial transaction, especially the packaging and shipping of an object or material as to a consumer. Okay, or the other definition is the way that someone does a job or deals with a situation, problem, thing, or person. That's mean by handling in general. When we talk about food handling, food handling mean any aspect Okay, any aspect of the operations in the preparation, okay, preparation, transport, storage, packaging, wrapping, exposure for sale, service or delivery of food. Okay, meaning that the food handling is starting from receiving until goes to distribution. So it considers as handling. So this term, this definition is given by US National Library of Medicine. Okay, what's mean by food handling? Hence, so a food handler, okay, there is food handling. So food handler is anyone, okay, anyone who handles packaged or unpackaged food directly, as well as the equipment and utensils used to prepare or serve food, and or surfaces that come into contact with food. So expected to meet food hygiene regulations. Okay, so this definition is given by FAO and PAHO. Okay, food handler. So if we refer to Malaysian Act, okay, Malaysian Food Act 1983, so food handlers are defined as first, person or individual who are directly involved in the food preparation. Okay, they are directly involved in the food preparation. For example, like chef lah, okay, tukang masak, kan, food preparation ataupun operator yang menyediakan makanan. Number two, come into contact with food or food contact surfaces. Okay, walaupun dia tak proses tapi mungkin dia deliver. Macam sekarang ni kan kita kata orang yang pegang makanan ni, lori ke dia pegang makanan, kan, orang jual makanan berbungkus, kan, pun dikira sebagai food handler. Mungkin kita tengok definition sebagai rider, yang hantar makanan pun boleh consider sebagai food handler. Sebab dia apa? Sebab dia mengendalikan makanan semasa penghantaran. Okay, and then number three, handle packaged or unpackaged food, okay, or appliances in any food premises. Okay, sama ada makanan tersebut berbungkus ataupun tidak, masih dikira sebagai pengendali makanan, food handler. So this term defined by Malaysian Food Act 1983. So hygienic food handling is a vital measures to prevent food contamination, thus minimize or eliminate hazard that cause foodborne disease that may occur in the different stages of the food chain. Okay, so it is not enough for us to just know how to handle the food, but we have to know what is meant by hygienic food handling. Why? Because we want to prevent the food contamination. Okay, prevent the food contamination. So what's meant by contaminated food? So contaminated food is a food that contains microorganisms such as bacteria, fungus or fungi, parasite, virus or toxins produced by microorganisms. Selain daripada microorganism, the food may also contaminate by presence of physical foreign matter such as metal fragment, soil, bone, wood fragment and hairs, or chemical contaminants such as detergents, pesticide or other chemical additives. So selain daripada faktor faktor mikroorganisma tadi atau biological factors, makanan yang tercemar juga mungkin disebabkan oleh faktor pencemaran bahan asing di dalam makanan, seperti kepingan logam, kan, serpihan logam yang ada serpihan kayu, apalagi kadang ada tulang, okay, kadang ada tanah, ada rambut, okay, dikira sebagai physical contaminant, atau mungkin mengandungi kita kata chemical contaminant, okay, seperti seperti bahan bercuci, kan, bila kita cuci mesin tak sempurna bilas dia kena pada makanan, atau mungkin daripada pesticide, kan, buah-buahan yang kita ambil daripada ladang tak dicuci dengan baik terus diproseskan, mungkin ada faktor pencemaran berpestiside ataupun waktu kita buat apa, pest control kan, pest control mungkin berlaku contamination kepada makanan, dan juga chemical contaminant juga boleh datang daripada chemical additif yang ditambah secara berlebihan ataupun yang mana chemical tersebut tidak dibenarkan untuk dimasukkan di dalam makanan. Contohnya seperti nitrit, NIT, nitrit, ataupun dalam dia punya struktur kimianya NO2. So foodborne disease are disease of an infectious or toxic nature caused by biological, chemical, or physical agents that enter the body using food as vehicle. So sekiranya contaminated food tadi dimakan oleh orang, maka dia kemungkinan boleh menyebabkan foodborne disease. Dan efeknya apa dia? Daripada foodborne disease menyebabkan food poisoning, keracunan makanan. Hence, for proper hygiene handling of food, okay, it is essential to apply good manufacturing practices or GMPs during the entire process of food preparation. Okay, so untuk memastikan pengendalian tu adalah hygiene, okay, pengendalian makanan itu adalah hygiene, bersih, maka kita kena pastikanlah beberapa elemen kita perlu amalkan. Contohnya seperti amalan pengelangan yang baik semasa pemprosesan. Tujuan dia adalah untuk apa? Untuk tujuan hygiene, okay? Tujuan hygienic purposes. So food handlers, food handlers masuk kita lah kalau kita masuk dalam apa? Dalam industri, dalam food industry, so kita lah sebagai food handlernya. Okay. So they are the critical, they are very critical element because they have direct contact to food prior to consumption. So that's why they need correct, okay, behavior and appearance for sanitary environment. So they must have skill and knowledge. Okay, so as food handler, kita lah kalau kita sebagai bakal orang yang mengendalikan makanan need to have skill and knowledge in terms of food safety and food hygiene. Okay, so nanti detail kita cover next semester. The skill and knowledge must include food safety and food hygiene matters. Food safety issues cover what staff must do to food to keep food safe. Okay, food safety maksudnya apa yang kita kena buat untuk memastikan makanan ni selamat. Bila kita kata tentang food hygiene pula ialah what staff must do to keep things clean so they do not contaminate food. Food safety kita nak pastikan makanan itu selamat. Food hygiene ialah amalan yang perlu diamalkan supaya keadaan itu bersih dan tidak mendatangkan pencemaran kepada makanan. Okay, so kalau di Malaysia, all food handlers are required and compulsory, required and compulsory to be trained, in aspect of food handling, food handling course under regulation of Food Hygiene Regulation 2009 issued by Ministry of Health. So in terms of Malaysia punya practices, semua pengendali makanan ni perlu hadir kursus yang berkaitan dengan food handling, food handling, di mana kursus ni adalah diwajibkan kepada semua orang. Okay, bayarannya cuma RM50 sahaja setakat ni. Kursus selama 3 jam. Okay, so kena hadir. So kalau tak hadir, kesan dia ialah sekiranya didapati bersalah, boleh didenda sehingga RM10,000 ataupun penjara 2 tahun. Ini kalau siapa yang nak terlibat dalam food industry lah, kena ada sijil pengendali makanan tersebut. Okey, kemudian kalau kita cerita tentang halal compliance in term of handling, berkaitan dengan handling dalam halal compliance, kalau kita refer kepada MS, MS kata apa? During its preparation, processing, handling, packaging, storing, distributing and or serving shall meet the following requirements. So bila kita refer kepada MS 1500, okay, semasa pengendalian makanan kita mesti mematuhi standard yang ditetapkan. Yang pertamanya not be processed using any components or products of animals that are non-halal by syariah law and fatwa. Tidak diproses menggunakan apa saja bahan atau produk daripada binatang yang tidak halal, yang kita dah discuss last week. Okay, number 2, the food shall not be processed using anything in any quantity that is decreed as najis by syariah law and fatwa. Yang pertama tadi binatang tak halal. Yang keduanya tidak diproses menggunakan apa saja benda yang dikatakan sebagai najis dalam apa saja kuantiti. Dan dulu kan ada yang kontroversi kan, dia kata lah guna sikit je arak ni kan, nak bagi cukup dia punya tu kan dalam masakan pun tak boleh kan, walaupun sedikit. Okey, masih dikira sebagai najis. Yang ketiga, safe for consumption. Okey, non-poisonous, non-intoxicating and non-hazardous to health. Dia tidak beracun, tidak memabukkan dan tidak memudaratkan kesihatan. So, dari segi definition ni kita boleh refer dalam apa? Dalam Akta Makanan 1983. Sejauh mana kita boleh letakkan bahan-bahan tertentu dalam makanan. Sebenarnya kita dah discuss last week kan. Apa yang dimasukkan dengan apa? Raw material, food ingredients dengan food additive. So kalau kita tambah food additive, okay, kita kena pastikan limit yang dimasukkan tidak melebihi daripada yang ditentukan di dalam peraturan. Okey, dan yang terakhir, apa dia punya syarat? Prepared, processed or manufactured using equipment and facilities that are free from contamination with najis. Okey. Yang kedua, AB tu maksudnya apa? Bahan tu sendiri, elakkan yang tak halal. Yang ketiga lebih kepada compliance to the regulations, kan? Iaitu Food Act 1983. And then the last one ialah tidak berlaku contamination dengan bahan ataupun dengan apa ni alatan ataupun dengan premis yang telah tercemar dengan najis. Ini syarat. Kita tengok dari segi requirement untuk halal handling. Ini menurut daripada MS 1500. Okay. So storage in general, proper storage is necessary. Proper storage is necessary in order to preserve the food product quality and nutritional value. Okay. Why we need proper storage? The first objective or purpose is to preserve the food product quality and nutritional value. Okay. Number 2, why we need proper storage? Because we want to prevent the contamination. Okay. We need proper storage. And then the last one is we need to have proper storage to defend against microbial growth. Okay. So incorrect storage practices have the potential to cause serious and costly problems. Okay. Okay. So we go to the definition of storage. So in general, in terms of language, storage means space or a place for storing. Space or a place for storing. Or storage is also putting and keeping of things in a special place for use in the future. Putting and keeping of things in a special place for use in the future, or the process of keeping and putting something in a special place while it is not being used. Okay, while it is not being used. So we keep our products in store. Okay, that is the general definition of storage. How about food storage? Okay, how about food storage? So food storage is the process in which both cooked and raw materials are stored in appropriate conditions for future use without any entry or multiplication of microorganisms. So we put the food in the storage. Why? We have purpose, we have objective. The objective is to make sure there are no entry or multiplication of microorganisms. Okay, so there are no use if we keep the perishable product, for example, in ambient temperature. Okay, so we need proper storage. For example, in chill condition or in a frozen condition. Okay, so the food can be kept for longer periods without the food spoiling, remain safe and fit for human consumption. That's why we need proper food storage. So generally, spoilage rises through three mechanisms. Okay, why the food becomes spoiled? Because of three factors. The first one is living organisms. Living organisms. Okay, especially the microorganism, fungi, bacteria, virus, as we discussed earlier. They may feed on the food and contaminate it. So like us, as a living organism, they also need to have food. So they will they will feed the food and then contaminate the food. That is the first mechanism. The second mechanism can be from biochemical activity. Biochemical activity within the food itself. Okay, which led to quality reduction. Okay, for example, respiration in fruits and vegetables. So will make the food become from maybe as for example like banana. Okay, banana from yellow color turn into black color because of ripening. Okay, respiration in the because of the respiration of the fruits. Okay, and the third the spoilage mechanism is the physical process. Okay, during the handling. So it make the food damage due to pressure or poor handling. Okay, or physical changes such as dehydration or crystallization. Okay, so regardless of the various type of products that have been produced and prepared in food premise, there are several general principles to be upheld in order to realize the successful of storage. So the first rule for proper storage is rotating or stop rotation. Stop rotation. We call as FIFO. What dia? FIFO. First in, first out. So we place the new deliveries behind those already in storage. Okay, it means that the goods or products are used in the order in which they are delivered, such as putting the new received products after those delivered last week. So the system need to be established in order to place the new deliveries behind, okay, already those in storage. For instance, okay, for example, dating the products. Dating ni bukan give dating dating ni letakkan tarikh. Tarikh dia punya expire ke apa kan. Dating the products upon receiving to guarantee the FIFO system is followed. Date receive. Bila kita terima, kita letak dekat produk tersebut. So hence, the food are able to be prepared before it expires, keeping waste to a minimum and saving the business money. Besides, selain daripada itu, it is very important to ensure the products are kept out of danger zone temperature. Okay, danger zone temperature, which is between 5 to 60 degree Celsius. Okay. Or sometimes ada juga yang mention 4 to 63, okay? Ataupun 0 to 0 tak adalah. 4 to 60. But for this for the purpose of this knowledge, kita letak dulu. Danger zone is between 5 to 60 degree Celsius. Okay. So we need to ensure that the product is not being stored in this danger zone, because danger zone is a temperature that the bacteria can multiply. And then the store the food only in designated area for storage. Okay. designated area. So avoid near chemicals or next to or in toilet areas or under stairways. So you need to have dedicated area for storage. And then you need to keep, and then the product need to be kept in clean, undamaged wrappers and packages. Why? Because the dirty packages can attract pests or contaminated food if it is being open. Okay? If it is being open. So if the goods are removed from its original packaging, so make sure that the products been placed in clean and sanitized food grade containers with tight fitting lids. Okay, this one is for product that have been removed from its original packaging. Katakanlah sampai ke tempat kita dalam bentuk bulk yang besar kan. So kita nak simpan balik, kita pastikan simpan dalam bekas yang boleh ditutup dengan rapat. Jangan biarkan pembukas yang dah dibuka tu kita buka sebab dia boleh expose to pest dan juga contamination. Okay. And then antara prinsipal yang kita kena tahu bila kita discuss tentang storage ni ialah the perishability. Adapun kita kata kerosakan. Produk mana yang mudah rosak ataupun tidak. Okay, kita kena consider. So food should be stored differently on the basis of how fast they will spoil or develop off flavors. So basically foods can be classified into 3 groups. Kita boleh pecahkan kepada 3 kumpulan. The first one is perishable food. Okay, perishable food. Okay. Number 2, semi-perishable food. And then the last one is non-perishable food. So what is the characteristic of perishable foods? So the perishability of foods, for example, is like eggs, milk, cream, or meat. This is considered as perishable food. So this group have the shortest shelf life. So it must be used within a few days. So the category of perishable foods including cooked foods. So we need to ensure that this kind of food been stored in a clean and cool place, whether in refrigerator or in freezer temperatures. Next we will discuss further on refrigeration and freezing. Refrigeration, or we call it chilling and freezing. So perishable is ataupun kita kata nama sebenarnya makanan yang mudah rosak, seperti susu, daging, telur. Jadi kita kena pastikan simpan di dalam tempat yang sejuk. Untuk semi-perishable, contohnya seperti dia bagi contoh tu dia? Roti, kek, kan? Makanan seperti sayur-sayuran, buah-buahan. So this group need to be removed and discard the food that start showing signs of spoilage to avoid cross contamination. So we need to aware or alert. When put in storage, care should always be taken to remove and discard the particular food that start showing signs of storage so as to avoid cross contamination. So if properly stored and handled, the food may remain unspoiled for 6 months to about 1 year. 6 months to about 1 year. And then the temperature and humidity. Beside temperature, we need also consider the humidity of the environment. Kelembapan. again affects the shelf stability of such foods. Okay, so if they are been stored properly, handled properly, so it can become unspoiled for 6 months to 1 year. And then the last group we call as non-perishable food. So this group of products or food can be stored in a cupboard on their own or in airtight container. So tak perlukan yang penyimpanan khusus, sama ada refrigeration ataupun freezing. Cukuplah sekadar letak dekat rak-rak tu. For example, dry food atau bottle or canned food. So tak perlu letak dalam peti ais. So this type of products is not spoiled until they are handled carelessly. Okay, until they are handled carelessly. So it keeps for months or years without spoiling. Okay, without spoiling. For example, preserved food products. Okay, or whole cereal nuts, fat and oil. Okay, honey, sugar, salt, some spices and essence. However, these foods will lose its quality if stored under over a long time, even though under ideal condition or suitable conditions. Okay, so these are the three groups of food based on perishability. Perishable. Okay, so we have perishable foods, semi-perishable foods, and non-perishable foods.